Good morning, everybody. It's Kate Kaltoff. Welcome. This is a Stamping to Share video over on my Facebook page. Tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock a.m., I'll be doing my premiere of this very video. It's great to be here. Hi, Kathy. Thanks for sharing, or thanks for joining us and sharing. I truly appreciate it. Who else is here? Hi, Yvonne. Good morning, and thank you also for sharing. I just brought my puppy in from outside and his feet were very, very dirty. So I was so busy washing him up and trying to make sure he's going to be quiet during the video that I sort of just all of a sudden looked and it was 10 o'clock. So hopefully I'm not too late. Today we're going to make 2 cards, but before we do that, just something to let you know that the holiday catalog, do I have one here to show you? Maybe, yes I do. This holiday catalog is officially going to retire, and that will happen, well, it should say somewhere on here. Somewhere on here it usually says, through January 3rd. However, we all know it's while supplies last once the retirement list is posted. Today, Stampin' Up! Posted the retirement list. We actually got it a couple of days ago, and if you're on my customer newsletter, you got a little email last week that has some links you can click to find out exactly what's retiring and what's staying in the mini catalog. So be sure to check that out if you have questions as to what's retiring. And as of today, some of those, all of the discounts where items are discounted go live. So I've already had a couple of orders, so I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And we'll go ahead and also remind you to use the November 2023 host code. When you do that, and your order is a minimum of 25, you get a paper perks from me. If it gets up to 50, you get a happy stamper token from me. And if your host code gets up to, your product order gets to a minimum of 75, you get the festive pearls as a gift when I mail your thank you card to you. So all of that can be found in the more information that is below this video. All right, so the first card we're going to actually do today, we're going to use the Merry, Bold, and Bright bundle, and I'll be creating this card right here. This is the bundle. It's fantastic. I've used it several times. You guys have seen me use this bundle. I've just really enjoyed using it. We've got amazing Merry, Bold, and Bright paper along with the Melon Mambo and Apple Green foil. So just to remind you of what this amazing paper looks like, and so far it's still available. It also can make some great cards that are not Christmas oriented, so you could use this paper really easily for things like celebrations and birthdays. There is a little bit of pine trees on this side, but of course this side is completely season neutral. Here is, I'll just quickly go through this. Look at these bright, fun papers. We'll be using this today. And here's another sheet. Look at those gorgeous diagonal striped. And then all the stars. The stars are awesome for if you need to make a few graduation cards. There, you know, people do graduate in December. I actually graduated in December from getting my associate's degree in college. Here's the Fa La 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 paper. So again, on one side you see it's kind of Christmassy, and then on the other side it's totally for any type of season or occasion that recalls for some fun festive colors. Here are the Christmas lights, and then on the other side some stripes. And another paper that we're going to be using today is this one with the Granny Apple Green and the shaded spruce colors. Love these big bold dots. And then on the other side, some more Christmas lights. So there's 2 different kinds of Christmas lights. I look at this as Christmas lights from my childhood. A lot of you may remember those. And then Christmas lights from, you know, they're kind of current, maybe not quite as current as they used to be, but when my kids were little, these were the kind of lights we had on our tree. Hello, Mary Ellen. Thank you for joining us, and thank you also for sharing. I truly appreciate it. Well, I'm going to put this back and then quickly show you the foil. Today we'll just be using the Granny Apple Green foil, and I think it's still available. So here is the Melon Mambo, and the Granny Apple Green. And like I said, we'll be using the Granny Apple Green today. And like I also mentioned a little tiny bit ago, we're going to be creating this card first. Just want to point out that I do use the stylish shapes for the round circle here that we're going to be making. And I did pre-cut a lot of things, and there will be a little stamping on this card, but I did pre-stamp some other things so we didn't take up too much time. All right, this is the inside panel. Oh, what fun. So let's go ahead and get started. So you might notice that this is pretty flat, so that's kind of fun because you can just start layering up. You don't have to worry about doing any kind of dimensionals on the base card. So starting with the base card, it is Granny Apple Green, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And I think I'm going to grab my bone folder. Oh, please let me have it. Here it is. And I just am going to crease that fold so that the card lies flat for us. There we go. Then the next thing is a 4 by 5 1/4 inch panel of shaded spruce. And we're actually going to layer that with another panel of paper. This is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. So that gives us a nice little skinny border all the way around on this fabulous Merry Bold and Bright paper. And I'm going to go ahead and just do something real quick here with my multi-purpose liquid glue. It's just so fast and it's so economical. So I've been using glue for a long, long time, and I'm sure most of you have too. The little multi-purpose liquid glue from Stampin' Up is fantastic because it always stays flexible as it dries. I don't know if you guys remember this, but back in the old days, sometimes when we used to use glue, you would bend the card like, you know, a year later, and all the layers would pop up because the glue would get brittle, which was just, you know, horrible. So I really do love and appreciate this glue. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a ribbon wrap on this because I want to get this down before we start layering up our circles. So I am using, and I think it's still available. I think it's still available, but I'm not totally sure. It's our iridescent white ribbon. It's in our catalog, and I'm not sure if I don't think this one's carrying over. I think it was the sheer with the silver edges that's carrying over. So what I'm going to do is a wrap. So all I want to do is take a scissors. I'm going to cut this off the roll, and I'm just going to fold it over. And then I've got my handy dandy ruler here, and I want to go about 2.5 inches down. And that's where I want to put my ribbon. So we're just going to, we don't need to totally measure. We can just kind of eyeball this. About like that. But I did want to give you the measurement because not everybody enjoys eyeballing. Just like some people, when they get a recipe in hand, like my sister-in-law is famous for this. Oh my gosh, she follows it exactly. And when I get a recipe in hand, I consider it guidance. I just go ahead and use what I have on hand. I never make a special trip to the grocery store unless I really have to because the main ingredient isn't on hand. But you know what I mean? All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and glue this onto the front of our card base. And then I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to do our inside panel next. So let me get that on. So pretty. So easy so far, right? All right, so the inside panel is 4 by 5 1/4 in basic white. And then we have a little strip of designer series paper here to match the outside of the card. That's 3/4 inches by 4. And then we're going to stamp Oh What Fun with Granny Apple Green. Got my Granny Apple Green. Here's my Oh What Fun. That's going to be our inside saying. And then we can go ahead and put this onto the inside panel of our card. So to do that, I'm going to use some Stampin' Seal. And then we're gonna scoot this in here, and then we'll set this aside for a minute or two while we focus on the next section. So I have to tell you, we had a dumpster out here at the farm, and I was so busy with it, and my husband was so busy with it, and we had kids out, and for 2 weekends in a row, we really cleaned up a lot of trash out here. But that meant that on stage that Stampin' Up! Was putting on, I did not get to really absorb much of it. I'm gonna show you which, oh, I have an extra in case I goof up my stamping. But you're going to use the largest stylish shapes circle to cut out a granny apple green foil bit, and then just go the next size down to do your basic white. But anyway, I didn't have a chance to really settle in and watch Stampin' Up's big event. It was virtual, and I was kind of sad about that. And so I did catch a few little things, but not very many. So let me grab this. We're going to use 2 different colors here to stamp. We're going to use Shaded Spruce and Granny Apple Green. So today I am actually, I'm going to do all my Thanksgiving prep tomorrow. So today all I'm going to do is do stamping stuff. I'm really excited about it. So that's super fun for me. You know what? Let's stamp these sentiments next because they might need to dry just a hair. You guys, you know what? Oh, I should show you this. You know how whenever you're cutting through your panels of basic white or very vanilla, you have that 1/2-inch strip on the side and on the bottom as you're cutting. I put all of my 1/2-inch strips into a coffee cup. This is my souvenir from when I lived in Texas, back when I was young. And while we lived in Texas, my husband worked at Texas Instruments. And so then on all of the vanilla panels, I have this coffee cup with all of the 1/2-inch strips, some 1-inch strips, some 3/4-inch strips of the crumb cake and the berry vanilla, because those are the things that I grab the most. And so this is his souvenir from Texas, his Texas Instruments coffee cup. And then this was my souvenir from Texas, because we drank coffee back then too. But look how small the cups are. I don't know. I would have to have like 4 of these to get down the amount of coffee that I consume now on a regular morning. It's just so funny how times have changed, especially with regard to coffee. But it tastes so much better now. Can you tell I've had a couple cups today? Back then, it was like not so good. All right, but we still did it. All right, so let's go ahead and get stamping here. I said I was gonna grab one of those 1/2-inch strips because I just need a piece of scrap. And I am going to stamp the words Mary in Shaded Spruce. Oh, I have to bring this towards my face so I can see what I'm doing. There's one. And then Anne Bright is going to be in Granny Apple Green. There. Now I'm just going to set this aside so it can dry a little bit while we work on our next bit of stamping, which is going to be the centerpiece of our front panel. So I have the Christmas light, and I'm going to stamp that in Granny Apple Green, and I want it pretty close to the bottom. And otherwise I won't have enough room. I should show you what the heck I'm doing here. Otherwise you won't have enough room for the cap of the light. Sorry, I'm having trouble figuring out where the camera is today. There we go. All right, so again, inking up in Granny Apple Green, stamping it way towards the bottom, and I did cut myself a second sheet of the Stylish Shapes circles in this size so that in case I goofed up, I had an extra. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the little filaments for the inside, and I'm going to stamp that in Shaded Spruce. like so. Oh my goodness, excuse me. Then I've got the topper, and that also is going to be in shaded spruce. It's going to go right on the top of my Christmas light. And then I want to put some little stars. But I think, yeah, I think I can go ahead and do that. So that will be also in Granny Apple Green. There we go. And then my sentiments are going to go over here. Now, my Granny Apple Green is really super inked up. So it's pretty dark. It does lighten up a little bit as it dries, but if I'd want a lighter look, I could stamp off one time before I actually do the light bulb and the stars. In fact, I think that might have been what I did here, and I didn't do it here. You know, just one of those things. All right, so then what we're going to do is we are going to attach this to this. So that'll be super easy. Just going to use some Stampin' Seal. I have like this terrible fear of my ink pads not being inky enough. So I am forever and always re-inking them, probably to my detriment sometimes. But all my customers know that if you buy an ink pad, you should always buy the re-inker because there's nothing more frustrating. You know, you can always take ink off an ink pad, but you can't get it on if you don't have the ink refill. All right. Now I can take my little words that I've prepped and using my scissors, which is right here, this is so super easy to freehand. So I don't even need to freehand that part. It's pretty centered. There we go. And then here's the Anne Bright. Thank you, Kathy. She was blessing me for my sneeze. Or as my parents always said, Gesundheit. There we go. Okie doke. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this back into the picture. I'm going to take another length of ribbon and we're going to do our tie-on the left-hand side. And this circle, this image circle is going to go very close to that tie-on. Might as well trim it as long as I'm at it. All right. Now this can go on with dimensionals. So I'm going to flip that over and grab my dimensionals. I won't go quite as crazy this week as I did last week. I had a lot of dimensionals going on last week if you happen to catch my Facebook Live. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to set this on just like so. So you want to just center it into your ribbon. And that looks pretty good to me. Then we're going to take our sentiments and we can just use a little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue here and put our Mary on. And our And Bright. And because the And Bright sticks out a little further, one thing you can do is take a little mini Stampin' Dimensional and just add that onto the right-hand side. And that will keep that from flopping down too far. There we go. How cute is that? All right, so there is the finished card. I'll get this ribbon out of the way a little bit so you can see it. And there's the inside panel. See, the ink is already lightening up. Okay, let's go on to the next card. So the next card, I did quite a bit of pre-stamping. I think there's maybe only one thing I need to stamp. So I'm going to keep my Granny Apple Green out. Let me clean up my desk just a hair here. I should mention, this was my swap card for my downline. Can't remember if it was last month or the month before. And then this was my top 10 card for my downline for sales. So this is a super fun card. You can see the colors are Poppy Parade and some, I think it's Parakeet Party back here. And then of course the Granny Apple Green. And there's the inside panel. So let me go ahead. And the thing that I think the only thing I need to stamp on this particular card is this string for the lights. So let me go ahead and get that all out. And I'll show you what we do. So here is the card base in Poppy Parade, 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5.5. And once again, I'm going to use my bone folder just so that my card lies flat while we're working with it. Here we go. And then the inside panel is 4 by 5 1/4. And then on the other side, I've went ahead and I put some matching DSP 3/4 by 4 inches. And then we can go ahead and we can take our Stampin' Seal. And we'll just run that across the top and put that into our inside panel. Now we will work on our outside. So the outside panel starts off with some Designer Series paper that's 4 by 5 1/4. And again, this doesn't have any wrap, so we can just start layering this onto our paper. And there we go. And then this is Poppy Parade again to mimic the card base. It's 2 3/4 by 4 inches. And that is going to just go straight on into the middle of that panel. So again, we're just adding multi-purpose liquid glue, lickety-split all the way around. And then we just pop this on here and just get it so it's all nice and centered. All right, now we're going to do our little bit of stamping. So the inside panel is going to be 2 5/8 by 3 7/8. That allows for a 1/4 inch border all the way around. And this is what we have to stamp our string of lights. So I already have that on my block, and I'm going to ink it up with Granny Apple Green. It isn't often that I use a block. I had to hold it up to the light to see which one it was. But every once in a while you do need it, so it's good to have it in your arsenal of acrylic blocks. Then I should really grab some scrap paper. See if I can find some. Hold on. There we go. And we're just gonna set this in and just stamp it from the lower left all the way to the upper right, just like so. Then what we're gonna do is we have some pre-stamped scraps. So remember my little coffee cup of 1/2 inch strips. Well, I already did this in advance. So I had some scraps of those. And I stamped To You and Yours. That's in that is in Poppy Parade. Have a Merry, and Christmas and Bright. So all of that is going to go onto our card. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly trim these up. And meanwhile, I can look at your comments. Yvonne is saying she loves the bright colors for these Christmas cards. I do too. I really am crazy about the DSP too, and that it's so versatile. It's really not just for Christmas. And then here is the Christmas sentiment. Well, my puppy's behaving. I was a little worried. I had to lock him out of my room because he was just so yippy skippy after coming in from outside, and then me having to wash his feet, and then I had to quickly mop up the kitchen floor because we had little puppy prints all over it. And then I looked at my clock and went, oh my goodness, it's time for the video. So we kind of were scrambling a little bit. And then I was worried he wasn't going to be very happy with me and would start barking. But I think he got all of his willies out this morning outside. And now he's just cozied in for a nice long nap, which is exactly what he should be doing this time of day. All right, so I think I've got everything trimmed. Let me get all of these little scrappy pieces off my desk. Okay, and now we're going to attach this to this. So I'm going to do that with Stampin' Seal. And whenever you're putting like a really skinny border with Stampin' Seal on the back, because it's not very forgiving, so you can't wiggle it like you can with glue, just hold it by the two kitty corner sides, and then what you're doing is you put it down. Just look up here and look down here, and when that looks even, then you can go ahead and drop it down. So we're going to add Christmas down here, right there at the bottom, and I'm just going to add this with a little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue. That's going to go right there. And then Have a Merry is going across the top. So that's going to get centered in. So I'm just kind of dropping it in, and then I'll center it because glue gives you a little bit of wiggle room. So now I can just center it in right where I want it. Have a Merry. And now we're going to put in and Bright right underneath it. Centered, of course. Have a Merry and Bright Christmas. There, that looks great. All right, now we can add To You and Yours to our inside panel, and then we have all of our sentiments done for this card. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to add the little lights to our panel. All right, so to do that, I took a piece of basic white scrap and I stamped it with Poppy Parade, the two lights, and then I cut them out with the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So they are ready. And then I did not show this very well, but I got them ready. Here are the foil trimmings. So the first thing we want to do is we actually want to add the little filaments. And what I did is I actually made this really easy on myself in that I used adhesive sheets on the back of these because they're so skinny, it's hard to get glue on them. So you can just peel off that adhesive sheet just like so. And then we are going to set this right like that. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. Grab that little adhesive thing Get the little piece poked out of the middle, and we'll do that for this one. And then we can add a little glue to the bottom of this area. And we can add our shiny little, I don't know what you would call these, the base of your light bulb. That sounds good. My husband would be rolling his eyes. He's like he's an electrical engineer, so he knows all the proper names for everything. I'm just like, oh, it's that thingamajig. Let's see here. Of course, he feels the same way in my stamp room. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to flip these over and attach with dimensionals. All right. So let me grab my dimensionals. This time I'm going to make sure my dimensional hooks onto that little light portion. And then we can peel those off and put them onto our card. Then we just have to add one finishing touch after that. So we're going to put the first one like this. And then the second one can go like that. Very cute. And then to add the finishing touch, we have the adhesive discs from Stampin' Up. And I'm just going to take a couple of the green ones. I'm just going to drop those in randomly. Oops. There we go. And there is the completed card. And again, this went to my top 10 people because it took a little more time to do. So I wanted to make sure that they had a really fancy card for their efforts for top sales in my downline group. All right, let me go ahead and just show you one more time everything that we did here. Here's these two. And these two. Let me see if I've got them in. You know, I'm always on a little bit of a delay, so I never know if I'm actually showing things where they need to be shown. Yes, what I would do if I were you is I would stamp off once unless your ink pad is not bright. So these were stamped up at my cabin, so I probably didn't re-ink up there as often as I do here at home. So just kind of funny. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining me today. I truly appreciate it. You guys are awesome. So again, I'll be live tomorrow on YouTube for the premiere at 10 o'clock. So if you, I know you didn't miss it because you're here, but that's where people go when they maybe miss the Facebook Live. Have a great day, everyone. I truly appreciate you. Bye-bye.